Okay, today we're on marriage or renunciation. That is the question.
Uh-oh.
And it's on page 125 if you're following along. Whether you are to marry and live in the world or to become a monk and renounce the world, this is a very intricate question. You alone are the fittest person to decide. None can do it for you. If your devotion to God increases and your mind is drawn towards His lotus feet, He will provide you with the opportunity and everything will be favorable, and all your problems will be overcome in an unexpected manner. By His grace, the world will drop off like the water from the feathers of a duck. So depending upon Him, resign yourself to His care. Let Him decide what is best for you. But one thing you must strive for without let up. You are to work unceasingly so that your love for God, without growing dim, becomes more and more intense, and your relationship with Him becomes more and more intimate. If you can make Him your very own, He will see to your welfare and never let you down. It is not necessary that everyone become a monk, nor has everybody the aptitude and necessary prerequisites for leading a monastic life. If you have no obligation to your family, and you feel a strong urge to renounce the world for the sake of God, you are free to do so. But you must watch carefully and see whether it is a passing emotion or a genuine desire. Very often, one does not know the subtle desires that are hidden below the surface consciousness, which create trouble in later years. What you have written does not seem to be sound to me. None can become a monk by making plans ahead of time. You have said in so many words, "Let me now enjoy working and earning money. When I'm through, I will join the monastery." We may make plans, but there is another power which turns them into ashes or converts them into success. If you ask my opinion, my advice is that you lead a good life, no matter where you live, in the world or out of the world. It does not make any difference where you are led. Try always to be His. Make Him the goal of your life. Give your mind to God and to none else. This much I can say. He who dwells in God has nothing to fear from the world. He will be protected from all dangers and difficulties. I always wish good things for you. May Sri Ramakrishna guide you and show you the path to truth and light. I remember something Swami Saradananda said. He said, "Be in the world, but not of it." Okay, so our next subject is the power of the divine name, i.e. your mantra. I am pleased to learn that a group of devotees are assembling every week in your home for study, discussion, and singing of devotional songs. This is very good. To sing the glory of the Lord in the company of devotees is a means of devotion, if the right mood and proper atmosphere is kept up. But along with singing, you should also spend some time in repetition of His name, in silence. The scriptures say that the name can be repeated audibly, semi-audibly, or mentally. Of the three, mental repetition is the best. It will purify your mind and help you to keep your thoughts in God. The name of God is identical with the Lord, said Sri Ramakrishna. Every word is the symbol of an idea. Every thought has its counterpart in words. We cannot think without using words mentally. When you are alone, instead of thinking idle, useless things, why not think of the Lord? And the easiest way to remember God is to repeat His name. Sri Krishna says in the Gita of vows, "I am the vow of japa." That's repetition of your mantra. But Mechanical, parrot-like repetition will do you no good. You must utter his name with feeling and devotion. If instead of thinking of the Lord, your mind wanders while you chant his name, how can you expect the desired result? It will be just like rowing a boat without pulling up the anchor. So you must repeat the name and meditate on its meaning so that your mind may be withdrawn from the sense objects and fastened on God. This is what Sri Ramakrishna asks us to do in his precept, make mind and mouth one. Harmonize your words and thoughts. If they are united, success is bound to come. Patanjali says the same thing in his aphorism. One must repeat Om and reflect on its meaning. One can meditate on Om as well as on divine forms, but you are to follow the instructions of your teacher and repeat the name given by him. Okay, we will continue with this. The next advice, is on japa. The name of the Lord you receive at the time of initiation is sacred to you. It is your mantra. You must not speak of it to anybody except your guru. The purpose of keeping it secret is not for any occult reason, but in order to let it sink into your deeper consciousness and reveal to you the truth, the knowledge of which will make you free. Constant repetition of the mantra is keeping good company. It must be natural, like breathing. The repetition of the divine name will bring into your mind holy associations, the blessed qualities of God, and take away all the blemishes of the heart. The disciple must practice hard with patience and determination until he attains the direct vision of God within the sanctity of his heart. The power of the mantra is tremendous. As a living seed holds the potential of a tree and is able to yield fruits and flowers in season, so the mantra has the power to bring spiritual progress and ultimately liberation from the world of suffering and death. The scriptures say that when the spiritual power is awakened, the mantra is seen in golden letters and sometimes is heard as clearly as a human voice. All these things are matters of experience. They cannot be known through intellectual understanding or mere discussion. One has to practice spiritual discipline for many years. In time, everything will be revealed from within oneself. Then the aspirant realizes God in and through the mantra, which appears as the visible form of the infinite being, which is formless and nameless. The main thing is the one-pointedness of the mind. It is the nature of the mind to flit from object to object. It does not remain steady. Even in sleep, it wanders about and conjures up fantastic dreams. Diverse thoughts will distract your mind and you will feel exasperated. But do not give up the spiritual struggle. There is no other way. The more you think of the Lord, the more other thoughts decrease. There must be a continuous flow of one meditation, or in sleep, unbecoming thoughts will not find any peephole to enter. Through ceaseless effort, one must bring the mind back if it wanders away, and fix it on the chosen ideal. This is what you read in the Gita. But mere reading is not enough. Unless you practice, you will not assimilate the teachings. So, without losing heart, carry on. Let your mind flow toward God as the river flows towards the ocean. As Sri Krishna says in the Gita, patiently, little by little, a man must free himself from all mental distractions with the aid of the intelligent will. He must fix his mind upon the Atman and never think of anything else. No matter where the restless and unquiet mind wanders, it must be drawn back and made to submit to the Atman only. Okay, next we're having directions for meditation. We've got, okay, plunge yourself into spiritual disciplines with all your heart and soul. That will give you real satisfaction. Why for a few days? A whole life is to be spent for that purpose. Nothing can be achieved speedily. One who is prepared to persevere to the end receives the grace of God. I pray that you may have unwavering devotion and abiding faith in Him. With regard to spiritual practices, the general rule is wise discernment and moderation in everything. You may have read in the Gita, yoga is not for him who sleeps too much, or for the keeper of exaggerated vigils. Let a man be moderate in his eating and recreation, moderately active, moderate in sleep and in wakefulness. He will find that yoga takes away all his unhappiness. Do not strain yourself. Do as much as you can. Indeed, you must get sufficient rest and maintain good health. But at the same time, you must not give way to lukewarmness and become lax in your struggle. There is no hard and fast rule regarding the number of hours to be spent in study and meditation. Everything is to be done according to one's convenience and capacity. Gradually, you should increase japa, the repetition of the name of the Lord in the period of your meditation. Regularity is very important in spiritual life. Excuse me. Therefore, you must try to keep the same hours as far as possible. At other times, keep a watch over your mind and see that recollectedness continues throughout the day. There is no need to observe the vow of silence. One can practice recollectedness without it. What you should avoid is gossip and worldly talk. Wherever you are, you must obey the orders of your superiors and perform your duties to the best of your ability. This is obviously directed towards one of the young monks of the order. There is no need to ask me about such matters. Use your discretion and act accordingly. If there is any problem pertaining to your spiritual life, you may ask me, and I shall be glad to answer your question. For the rest, you must think for yourself and stand on your own feet. If you carry on your spiritual practice with implicit faith in the Lord, who is your own, you will understand everything in due time. It will gradually be revealed to you how you can cultivate absolute reliance on God while performing your duties. If you are sincere and have the attitude that it is His work that you are doing, He will show you the way. Remember these things. 1. An impure person can never be a good worker. A true worker works with skill and efficiency, but will at the same time maintain inner peace and tranquility. However arduous his task may be, he will not grumble. He will avoid all misunderstanding and quarrels and be tolerant of other people's viewpoints. 2. In the midst of all, 3. Excuse me. 3. In the midst of all kinds of work, you must allot some time for japa and meditation, for they are the means of self-knowledge. Jesus Christ said to his disciples, Ye are the salt of the earth. It seems to me japa and meditation are, as it were, the salt of work. In all religious organizations, whenever the observance of spiritual practices slackens, work becomes saltless, and the members drift without knowing where they are going and where their work is leading them. Follow the instructions of your teacher and meditate regularly. Meditate on the Guru, seated on a white lotus with 12 petals. Petals. This center is situated in the brain above the eyebrows. Before performing japa and meditation, recite the hymn to the Guru mentally. I meditate on the Guru, whose nature is that of absolute reality, who is beyond good and evil, pleasure and pain, life and death, and all the pairs of opposites, and who is the constant witness of the changing phenomena of the universe. I seek refuge in him, who is the embodiment of knowledge and liberation, who is pure, stainless, and all-pervading like the ether, and through his grace removes the darkness of my heart. May he awaken my consciousness and grant me freedom and bliss. When you meditate on the Guru, you are to think that it is the Lord who has taken the effulgent form of the Guru, and who, with a smiling face, is showering his blessings upon you. You have written that at the time of meditation, you find it difficult to think of the lotus. While meditating on your chosen ideal, if you are able to visualize the form, it does not matter whether you visualize the lotus or not. Again, if you cannot bring before your vision the luminous form of your Guru, think of him as you have seen him with your eyes. All these devices have been prescribed in the scriptures only as aids to the concentration of the mind. The main thing is to turn your mind toward God. Sri Krishna says in the Gita, "Give me your whole heart, love and adore me, worship me always, bow to me only, and you shall find me. This is my promise, who love you dearly." You seem to think that meditation is not possible unless one is aware of the true nature of God. This is not correct. If you have perfect knowledge of God, you are already illumined. To say that you will practice spiritual disciplines only after you have attained full conviction and knowledge of his being is tantamount to saying, "I will enter the water only after I have learned to swim." In that case, you'll never learn. It is only through japa and meditation that one removes all obstacles, attains purity of heart, and finally arrives at the full consciousness of God. A Sanskrit verse says, "He who wishes to meditate on the Lord after all his problems are solved is like the fool who wishes to bathe in the sea after the waves have subsided. That moment will never come. The sea will always have waves. Similarly, favorable opportunities are hard to find in this world. Therefore, do not wait for propitious moments. Every moment is propitious when you use it properly. If you call on him with a yearning heart, he will surely respond. Create an intense dissatisfaction for the things of the world. Create a longing for holy company and the desire to know God, by knowing whom all our wants are satisfied. Sri Ramakrishna used to inspire his listeners with this song. Dive deep, O mind, dive deep in the ocean of God's beauty. Descend to the uttermost depths, and you will find the gem of love. Light up, O mind, light up wisdom's shining lamp, and let it burn with steady flame, filling your heart with unceasing joy. Okay, let's see. We start a new section. Freedom through desirelessness. To attain peace, one has to practice control of the senses and the mind. Conflicting desires arise in the mind. Because of those desires, the mind is constantly lashed into waves. As long as these waves form, the mind is restless. In order to control these waves, which give rise to the thoughts of a worldly and distracting nature, one must live a life of self-discipline. Of all disciplines, chastity is the foremost. It is fundamental. All other disciplines will follow naturally if one practices this primary virtue. Those who lead an unregulated life and think impure thoughts lose their powers and strength of mind. They are at the mercy of passing desires and the feverish cravings of the senses and are slaves. The mind has tremendous potentialities. It is the storehouse of infinite energy. Through control and inner check, we can unfold these potentialities and gradually develop the power to work toward good. Each one of us is a repository of infinite power. If we can manifest our latent capabilities, we will become almost all-powerful. Prophets and incarnations who have come and gone have shown us one thing, that we too can become heirs of knowledge and power like themselves, if only we have the will. If we struggle walking the path taken by them, we too will reach the goal one day. If it were not so, the life of an avatar would have no meaning. The great teachers and incarnations of God verify the truth that life is worth living. They set before us a goal and show us how to realize that goal. They point out methods of discipline suited to the age and to people of diverse moods and temperaments. Their one message is the call to spiritual awakening, for who knows when the Atman, the Self, will be awakened from its slumber. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, if the soul hungers for God, self-knowledge may come in 3 years or in 3 months. If the desire is intense, it may even come in 3 days. Rightly does the Gita say. When can a man be said to have achieved Brahman, union with Brahman? When his mind is under perfect control and freed from all desires, so that he becomes absorbed in the Atman and nothing else. The light of the lamp does not flicker in a windless place. That is the simile which describes a yogi of one-pointed mind who meditates upon the Atman. When, through practice of yoga, the mind ceases its restless movements and becomes still, he realizes the Atman. It satisfies him entirely. Then he knows the purified heart, but is beyond the grasp of the senses. He stands firm in this realization. Because of it, he can never wander from the innermost truth of his being. Is it possible to realize this truth living the life of a householder? Many people think that if one gets married and has a family, it is almost impossible for him to practice self-control. This is utterly wrong. What stands in the way of a householder controlling his senses? Sri Ramakrishna used to say, make your mind and speech one, and you will attain everything. Do not limit it to restraining the senses. Many other excellent qualities will be reflected in your life. Forgetting the true nature of the Atman, which is eternally free, man seeks worldly objects for the enjoyment of his senses. He considers pleasures derived from external things sweet and enchanting. How many people realize that every pleasure is invariably mixed with some measure of pain? Accepting the one necessarily involves the other. Swami Vivekananda would often say, joy comes to a man wearing a crown of sorrow on its head. Ordinary man is so engrossed in the joyful side of the picture that he finds no time to think of the crown of sorrow. He forgets that if he accepts the one, he must take the other with it. Hence, our scriptures warn us, Beware, O mind, think not that the enjoyment of the senses is the goal of life, for suffering is its inseparable companion. Look upon both pleasure and pain as your teachers. Enlarge your vision and accept that as your goal, which will free you from the bonds of Maya. The aim of the scriptures is to teach people how to develop the spirit of renunciation in married life. Through worldly experience, with its joys and sorrows, they will come to know the value of detachment, without which no happiness is born. Gradually, they will understand that the pleasures of the world are short-lived and unreal, and that the only reality is God. To know Him, to be united with Him by prayer and meditation, is the noblest aim and aspiration of life. It is an undeniable fact, proven by experience, that the mind will not pursue an object of enjoyment for long, if it is enjoyed with proper discrimination. Sri Ramakrishna repeatedly said that discrimination between the real and the unreal was imperative for a spiritual aspirant. A seeker of God should always discriminate in this manner. Well, my mind, you hanker after this food and that dress, and you are never satisfied. But don't you see that all kinds of food, whether they are quite ordinary or the finest delicacies, are the same? They are nothing but modifications of the 5 elements of matter. Similarly, the same components of blood and flesh, of bone and marrow, which are the products of those elements, form those who are beautiful as well as any others. Why should you then have preferences and liking for special objects? Will they ever help you to attain that which is the abode of supreme bliss? What should one do if, in spite of these arguments, the mind refuses to listen? In that case, you should enjoy the object of desire once or twice, well discriminating between the unreal and unreal. Small desires, such as sweets, can be renounced in this way after enjoying them with proper discrimination. But it is dangerous to apply this same method to major desires. The moment an aspirant begins to gratify them, he becomes so involved that he cannot extricate himself. Therefore, these major desires have to be renounced and uprooted completely from the mind by realizing the danger and the defects inherent in them. If they are given free rein, they will stifle the power of discrimination. Okay. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that all his spiritual attainments were for the sake of others. If people would do 1/16 of what he did, they would be blessed. That is why he assumed the responsibilities of married life and exemplified the noble idea of the hearth. Had not Sri Ramakrishna married, some of his critics would probably talk so vehemently against lust and gold and preach the ideal of renunciation so eloquently because he himself had not married. The marriage of Sri Ramakrishna has a deep meaning. He entered into it with the idea that people might learn from his example that marriage is a sacrament and has an ideal much higher than the gratification of the senses. This ideal was not exemplified in the lives of Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Shankara, and other avatars. It was demonstrated in the life of Ramakrishna to fulfill a greater need. For the first time in the history of the world, an absolutely pure married life was expressed through lifelong spiritual practices and austere disciplines. Sri Ramakrishna would say, "Let men cast their own lives in this mold and fashion an image of purity and perfect beauty." And we will stop there today. Are there any questions about what we've read about renunciation? monasticism, and married life. No questions. We'll end with it. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Panamastu. Okay, everyone, take care, be safe, be healthy.